Night one of the WWE draft has concluded, and I gotta say, I am absolutely stunned by quite a few drafts. And a draft that kind of started out with people that we expected to get drafted to the shows that they're already on. It started to kind of pick up as the rounds went by. Seth Rollins, who has been on Monday Night Raw for 4 years. For 4 years since the original draft, since the draft came back in 2016, who's pretty much done everything there is to do on Raw, winning Universal title not once but twice, winning the Intercontinental title in two different occasions, even winning the Royal Rumble. He slayed Brock Lesnar. I could just go on and on and on. He won the Raw Tag Team Championship at least 3 or 4 different times on Raw. I mean, he's pretty much done almost everything there is to do on Raw at this point, being on there as long as he has. And to now get drafted to SmackDown, that was the first major surprise to me. But then, of course, when they drafted Dominic and Mysterio to SmackDown, that pretty much tells me that storyline is going to continue, which pretty much tells me that most likely they're going to end up drafting Buddy Murphy to SmackDown, because I don't really see them being done with his feud with Seth Rollins just yet. Um, I kind of see where they're going with that. But I mean, either way, though, it still is major for SmackDown to pick Seth Rollins, because this is a guy who has been on Raw and has been the Monday Night Messiah for. He actually started that name last year when he first turned back heel again. But he's just been on Raw for so long, and to see him come to SmackDown is just huge, because he's been a Raw player. Even though he's had a couple of matches on SmackDown when they did that ridiculous wild card rule last year and stuff like that, he still has been a Raw guy for the most part. And like I said, he's won the Raw Tag Team titles and several occasions at this point. Um, so it's kind of a refresher to see him, on SmackDown. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. And also AJ Styles, he goes back to Raw, which you kind of expected to happen. Considering some things he said, you kind of expected that to happen. He goes back to Raw. You kind of expected that to be the case, man. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. But the one, Naomi comes to. I'm only gonna mention the draft picks that really shocked me. Some of the other draft picks, they were kind of expected. You expected them to put Roman, to keep him on SmackDown. You expected them to keep Jay on SmackDown. Although they didn't say the Usos, so it does make you wonder if that means that when Jimmy comes back from injury, if he's going to get drafted to Raw, because that would be interesting. We've never seen the Usos split up before. We've never seen, the twin brothers who's been together since they came to the company, since they burst on the scene. We've never seen them split in different brands where they're just not wrestling together. So you start to wonder that. But maybe the reason why he didn't get drafted is because he's injured. But then again, I don't know. I do remember reading what the rules were that they had, but that's kind of interesting. Also, Otis stays on SmackDown, but they don't say Heavy Machinery, so that's another surpriser, which makes you start to wonder if Tucker could perhaps get drafted to Raw. And The Miz and Morrison gets drafted to Raw, which means they're no longer on SmackDown. So you start to wonder if this means that the situation with Otis is, maybe if they're going to just put an end to this, or what exactly they're going to do with this. Because shockingly, this was the team that I thought that they were teasing a split up for, considering the fact they've been splitting up so many teams lately, which is insane, because it starts to defeat the purpose of what in the world is the point of tag titles if you're going to keep splitting up teams. But instead, no, it was not the Miz and Morrison. It was not the Miz and Morrison that ended up getting split up. It was the New Day, a team that has been together for 6 years, almost a decade. In my opinion, one of the greatest tag teams of this era. A lot of other tag teams like the Usos are in that mix for this particular era, in my opinion. Even the Bar, who was very, very came out as a very underrated tag team as far as you didn't they were just randomly paired together, but they just did a tremendous job as a team. And now you got Cesaro teaming up with Shinsuke, and they were actually the team that ended uh, the New Day's 400, I think, 83-day reign as the longest reigning tag champs. They were the ones who ended that reign. So to see them break up the New Day and to keep Big E on SmackDown on the day that Xavier Woods makes his return, which was another shock. We've seen two massive returns. Xavier Woods, after tearing his Achilles and being out for over a year, made his surprise return after an incredible Falls Count Anywhere match between Big E and Sheamus, which Big E came out on top. Kofi Kingston came back first, who we hadn't seen since after Money in the Bank, after that tables match when they lost the titles, and then Xavier Woods came back after him. The only time we've seen Xavier Woods, I believe, is on Talking Smack. I think that's what he's on, and they're back. They get back together. They win the tag belts from Cesaro and Shinsuke, which is basically because there's a limited amount of tag teams. And out of nowhere, they draft Xavier Woods, and they draft him and Big E. They draft him and Kobe, but they don't say Big E. Stephanie doesn't say Big E, and that to me was shocking because this is a team who Kobe has said many times that he never wanted to break up the New Day, he never wanted to do that, but it's been so many rumors within the last 4 years or so that Vince has been thinking about having Big E turn heel and turn against him, and to see this happen and see the look on Big E's face. What's interesting is the dynamic that they're actually going to team up next week in a farewell match, and since nothing happened this week, you start to wonder if this is just going to be a regular farewell match. A regular farewell match where nothing takes place, where they win the match or lose the match and that's it, or if there's going to be something tense, some tense that happens after this, where Big E actually just snaps because he's a single star again. You start to wonder what may actually happen in this farewell match that they're doing next week, and then six-man tag against them going against Sheamus, Cesaro, and Shinsuke. That's very interesting. They're doing that right after just splitting them up like that. I did not see that coming. I knew that there was an article that said they were splitting up a team, but I didn't want to read it for spoilers. But that was very unexpected, and you start to wonder what does this mean. If they're just gonna have Big E just completely snap. It's very interesting to see what exactly happens with them, because I definitely thought that the team they were going to split up was going to be the Miz and Morrison, or even the Lucha House Party for that matter, as far as Kalisto, considering how much we've seen them tease them breaking up. So for them to do this with the New Day really just came out of nowhere. This is a draft pick that really kind of got me. I got to say, they really distinguished this draft pick a little bit from last year, not fully, because there were some people who basically got drafted to the brand they were already in. Like I said, Roman, like I said, Jay, like I said, Sasha Banks, she stayed on SmackDown. Some people just got drafted right back to the brand they're already in, but there were some picks like Seth Rollins that really caught my eye, because a lot of people have been saying this, and I've been reading the comments and stuff. People have been saying, Seth Rollins should go to SmackDown. He's been on Raw. He's done everything there is to do on Raw at this point. And then, of course, they put Dominic and Rey in there, so you pretty much know what's going to happen with that. And Naomi goes to Raw, which is another big draft pick. I mean, we've seen Naomi on SmackDown for quite some time. I think she did come to Raw during one of the Superstar shakeups. I could be wrong, but I think she did. I think she was briefly on Raw. But it's interesting to see her go get drafted to Raw. Hopefully they can utilize her better. Hopefully she can get more time than she's been getting as of late. This might be a boost for her. But her pick for me, that was another big one right there. Her pick, them splitting up the New Day. Lars Sullivan just made a return that I did not see coming after Jeff Hardy and I should also mention that it's weird that they have Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston get drafted to Raw as the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So you could assume that Street Profits are going to get drafted to SmackDown, because I don't see them having two tag champs unless they just want to unify the belts, which then that just defeats the purpose of the brand split, which it kind of already does defeat the purpose, because with Nia and Shayna and with the 24/7 title, it can be defended on any brand. So it's kind of like, but what are the rules? Anyway, you know, that wasn't everything that got me. Oh my god, man. Um, you know, Xavier and Kobe win the SmackDown Tag Champions, win the SmackDown Tag Belts. They get put on Raw, and now this automatically lets me assume that Street Profits are coming to SmackDown. Uh, Bianca Belair comes to SmackDown. I didn't see that coming either. I did not see that coming, uh, because she hasn't really done much of anything on Raw. She hasn't really had any proper storylines. They kind of had been building her up like she was coming back to Raw. So to see her just immediately get thrown to SmackDown was just very interesting that they did that. So there's a couple of draft picks this time, I will say, that kind of caught my eye, that I really didn't really see coming. But there are some people who I kind of feel like naturally are going to just go to the other show, just because of it seems like they want to keep the storylines going. That kind of seems like the direction they're going. Like, I feel like Kevin Owens will likely get put on SmackDown officially. If they keep Braun on SmackDown, it would kind of be weird considering how much he's been showing up on Raw. But man, it just, man, what a first night of the draft pick here on SmackDown. Some really unexpected things, some really unexpected things I didn't see coming. Really, really unexpected. Wow. Oh my goodness. What did Seth Rollins. Yeah, I gotta say, Seth, the New Day being split up, Otis potentially meaning that Heavy Machinery could be getting split up, which is even more crazy. They actually decided to keep the Miz and Morrison together. There's a lot of names we didn't hear. So, wow, and I'm hearing that it's going to continue. It's going to continue Monday, but they're also going to do some draft picks on tomorrow morning. So this is crazy. Oh my goodness, man! What a first night's of draft picks. Like I said, it was slightly better than last year. The beginning of it was kind of bland, because you kind of expected some of those people to get drafted where they got drafted. It was kind of like the same thing, the same way they did it last year. But I gotta say, with the exception of the people who basically got put on the shows they were already on, like Angel Garza going back to Raw and he was already on Raw, with the exception of the draft picks that were just like, well, yeah, we kind of respect that. There was some draft picks that kind of caught my eyes, so that there's some. I will give them that. They did a little bit better this year. And Monday is a 3-hour show, Raw, so I would expect the draft picks to be a little bit longer, but we'll see what happens. Sign off, Ray Master Flex, and that's all I gotta say. I may or may not do a video on the Monday draft. Probably not. We'll see. Whatever. Well, all right.